Welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to join us. Today, we are going to talk about our changing family dynamics. And we're going to talk about every family is different. Everyone's individual circumstances are different. Everyone brings their unique set of strengths to address life's challenges. The information we're sharing here is meant to be flexible and adapted in the ways that work best for you and for your family. Ideally, as parents, we try to create an emotional safe space, a supportive atmosphere, and we work to create conditions that support our child's learning. But these challenging times have really caused difficulty in everyone's life. We're all impacted. So, how can we best parent during this crisis? What changes might we be seeing in our family as we get further into this pandemic? Let's not sugarcoat it.
That's a really good point, Hayley, that we need to, if we can, just, sort of step back and then notice. And I've been doing that with my family and noticing the changing family dynamics through the pandemic and what's going on there. And just stepping back and noticing is that critical first step. There might be different family members and they may change their communication patterns with each other. You might notice that a child is spending more time maybe back in their room where they used to be out more interacting with the family. Just what are the things that you observe? And these changes can influence the very structure of our family, the roles within our family, as well as behavioral changes that we might notice. And we all realize that the family dynamics going on in the home have a strong impact on how our children see themselves as well as how they see others.
Yeah, Laurie, that's so true. And I know that a lot of our families are really experiencing a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety about a number of factors, including racial justice, of course, the pandemic, but also economic stress as a result of the pandemic and loss. Many of our families have lost family members, people that are important and close to them. And all these things can be really overwhelming and cause very strong emotions in adults and also in children. Also anxiety about being our child's teacher. In our family, I have a teenage son. That's certainly something that, I'm not very good at algebra. So all of those things can be very stressful and very overwhelming for us. And then of course, lots of work. And, the interesting thing about kids especially is that fear and anxiety don't always present as worry. And this is what we need to understand as parents. They often present as other emotions. So they're kind of like the underlying emotions, and then they present themselves in other ways. So you may find that your child is more irritable and angry with a shorter fuse, going off on other family members, siblings, disorganized and unable to focus. I think a lot of us can attest to that during the pandemic, not only for our children, but because we have so many competing things going on. Sometimes that focus is difficult to get to. Exhaustion. As Laurie talked about in the last video, a lot of us are spending a lot of time online looking at things that can be overwhelming for us. So that contributes to our exhaustion, and sometimes it makes it difficult for us to sleep. Sadness about small things. So, your child may get upset that, a sibling took a toy and it's normally something that, doesn't bother them. So, and you're asking, why is it such a big deal right now? Well, because everything's a big deal right now, and that's okay to understand and realize. And then bored, kind of checking out. We've seen a lot of kids, and I've seen this actually with a lot of adolescents recently, that a lot of adolescents are kind of just checking out and kind of going inward. And of course, that's a concern for us as parents. So those are some of the things that we may be seeing with our kids. And again, really that is what we see on the surface, when underneath that, there may be that sadness, that fear, and that anxiety.
Yeah, Decca, you mentioned the point of sleeping. I think it's important for our parents to make sure they notice if there is a change in the sleeping or eating habits and patterns. I know, like within my household, we've had to have a meeting with the kids concerning the sleeping. You know, it's easy to get stuck and stand up all night because you don't have to leave, because the environment never changes. The home is the classroom, the home is the bedroom, the home is the gym, the home is everything. So just knowing how to normalize and keep things like on a specific regimen and schedule, you know, also, you know, realizing that, you know, you get that my bucket is overflowing because my bucket is full feeling, and knowing how to deal with that when anger arises, knowing how to come to a place of bringing things back down, calming things down. So you'll notice that feeling, and you may have that feeling of constantly being on the edge. Also, knowing that you're modeling everything for your child. So the way that you deal with stressful moments, the way that you deal, whether it be the changing in sleeping, the changing in eating, the kids are going to follow you as a parent. So you know that you're setting the way. The feelings of isolation, with the social distancing piece. I know for me, I'm a huggy person. I love to see people and hug them. And it's been tough. I've had to hold back and pull back. And for some people, that can put them in a stupor. It can put them in a slump. And, you know, finally, we have a lot of people who have lost loved ones during this time. And when you consider during this time, you know, you may have wanted to celebrate your loved one a certain way, but because of numbers, you can't have more than 10 people and different things. So there is a lot that we can look at that is taking place. And as parents, we need to recognize as we move forward in this until we come out of it.
All of these factors can combine to overwhelm our family. You may find that the way your family interacts has changed. Know that changes during this time of stress are totally normal. Once you recognize what changes have occurred, you can try to become more aware of their impact. Decca, what have you noticed, and what questions should parents ask themselves?
So just as our children may be more irritable and may be getting overwhelmed at small things, you also need to ask yourself as a parent, is that happening with you? Does your stress turn into irritability towards your family members? Are you yelling at them for things that previously didn't impact you? You know, so take some time at the end of each day, maybe to kind of reflect on your family interactions and ask yourself that. Do I seem to get overwhelmed more quickly? Is that an indicator of the stress that I might have? And then, as we talked about a few minutes ago, have different family members isolated themselves from one another? You know, we always talk about families being in a box, in a box, in a box. So what that means is you're in your house as a box, and then the kids are all in their rooms as boxes, and then they're looking at some type of technology as a box. And we know that that's not healthy. And a lot of our families are doing that more now during the pandemic. So being aware of that. And then if you have multiple children, are they having more difficulty getting along? Are they getting in more spats? Are they getting more upset with each other? So all of those things can be indicators of family stress that we do need to address and look at.
Mm-hmm.
Laurie, is there a simple skill that families can practice together when things are stressful or when tension and irritability are high? Maybe a skill that we do here in our schools?
Yes, you know, we love the stop practice here in our schools, and I so enjoyed offering this at Lucy Addison this last year for our middle school students. But families and students of any age can learn the stop practice because it's STOP, and it's so simple. And so the S stands for just stopping. You know, just becoming still. And as Jerel said a little while ago, centered, right? Becoming centered. And then T is for take a few of those deep, slow breaths that help us create the physiological response of calmness for our bodies as well as our brains. So stopping and taking those deep breaths. The O is for observe. Check in with yourself. What's going on for me in this moment? Thoughts? Do I have a strong emotion, or maybe even a body sensation? Maybe my body is telling me or giving me a signal. And then the P is for proceed. Asking yourself after you've taken the moment to stop, take a few deep breaths and do a check-in. Now, what is most important for me to pay attention to right now? And that might be, I need a few moments to take care of myself, right? That might be what you proceed with, but just something as simple as a stop practice can create that moment in the day. Doesn't matter if you only have a moment or a minute to do that, or if you have several minutes. And it's also something that you can do as a family. You can all stop together.
So we've talked about changing family dynamics and some things that we may notice in our families during challenging times. We've also spoken about how we as adults can begin that process to take care of ourselves and our emotions. We've described a simple mindfulness tool that we can use in our homes. Next time, we're going to talk and discuss about how to use mindful parenting to help cope with some of the changes in our families.
Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.